Hotep, I am the Amen Osiris, the one and only undisputed God of law. We are www.deceptionstoppers.com, America's only child support education service. I am not a lawyer. This is not a law firm. I do not advocate that you don't support your human offspring. I simply advocate you made them in private. Exercise your right to raise them in private. Today, in this class, what I'm going to teach you, and this is a class that we do offer online, but I'm going to give you some basic information. Again, I won't be before you long. All right, and I'm going to show you. All right, and this now I'm going to read this. 4D contractors will openly admit that they did in fact deprive you of your rights, privileges, and immunities under color of law. Gentlemen, when you are suing for deprivation of rights under color of law, you have to prove two things. It is very simple. Number one, you have to prove the right that you were deprived of, and number two, you have to prove that the parties acted under color of law. And I'm going to show you how to prove both. Okay. Now you can obtain this and achieve this with a set of interrogatories. All right. This is just something I whipped together for this class. Okay. And what's going to happen is when you question these people, when you interrogate them, all right, one of the things I love to do is use definitions. So when you are questioning them, you're giving them two options: admit it or deny it. Okay. So of course, now this can't be denied, and we know that. All right. But what I want you to see here is 1983 imposes liability on anyone. All right. It says anyone who, under color of law, deprived you of your rights, privileges, and immunities. All right. So it says any rights, privileges, and immunity. Here's the definition of any. Any, and that any is used to refer to one of some of a thing or number of things, no matter how much or many. Okay, so what this means is all you got to do is to prove that they deprived you of one right. That's it. All right, and your main goal, of course, your main attack is going to be on due process. All right, the involuntary servitude might get thrown out. A couple other, the right to not associate. Some of those might get thrown out, okay? But I guarantee you the due process will not. So what you're going to do when you question them, and of course, this is why using their information against them is important. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prove, number one, we already know, all right, we're doing it under this lawsuit here, okay? Now, we're going to prove, admit, 1983 allows each contractor, its agents, employees, and subcontractors to be found liable to you when they have acted under color of statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory of the District of Columbia. Okay, we know that child support is federal law, so the federal courts have jurisdiction. All right, and it's also ran by a federal corporation. Okay, which is in fact in the District of Columbia. All right, so going down here, we already know. So what we're going to do is we're getting them now. You already know that Title 42, all right, which is comprised of the Social Security Act, was never enacted into positive law. Okay, it's prima facie evidence of law. I've done this video on color of law. Okay, so admit this or deny it. Can they deny this? No, they cannot. This is written by the United States House of Representatives, Office of the Revision Council, United States Code. All right, they can't deny it. Okay, if they deny anything on this document, all right, and here's the thing: you can also use this. When you go to court, you can also use this. Information like this to blast the hell out of them. All right, they're not going to see it coming. Okay, so now we get them to admit, they have to admit it because they have these interrogatories have to be answered, that yes, Title 4D was never enacted into positive law. Okay, now let's start sticking it in a little more. Down here, we're asking them to admit that each 45 CFR 75.2 contractor, its agents, employees, and subcontractors performed 45 CFR 302.34 contractual duties under 45 CFR 303.107C terms and conditions in return for payment by the Child Support Enforcement Agency, and did certify that the current 4D case, which is against you, was established in compliance with provisions of Title 4D of the Social Security Act. They can't deny this, can they? So right here, they're openly admitting that child support was never enacted into positive law. Down here, they're admitting that they enforced that case in compliance with Title 4D. of the Social Security Act. So they're openly admitting right here that they acted under color of law. There's no getting around it. Now, here we go. I'm not going to go over too heavy into the contracts right now. Now, here we are. Here, down here is where you're going to put in your Fifth Amendment claims, which are valid. Okay, so admit that my claims are valid under the Fifth Amendment, which requires that I shall not be deprived of life, liberty, or property unless by due process of law. The requirement of the Fifth Amendment is also present under 45 CFR. I'll skip the numbers. The due process rights of the parties involved must be protected. And at, 666A5CI, the state must afford due process safeguards. Admit that. So yes, they're going to openly admit, yes, we have to provide you due process safeguards. All right. And matter of fact, let's do this. Let's put an X there. All right. So they're going to admit it. Bam. Okay. Now, here it is. And you've seen me teach on this before, and this is why you're going to use it. It's not going to change, gentlemen. It's going to be the same thing. Okay, you're going to redundantly use this to prove your claim is valid. Admit that 42 USC 666, mark of the beast, procedures for a simple civil process for voluntarily acknowledging paternity, under which the state must provide, and this should actually be the, hold on, this should actually be right here. All right, yeah, that's what we want. Hold on, let me just fix that. I didn't like how that sounded. Okay, that which, there we go. Each, Control V. You want to be very specific on that, all right, because you're bringing claims against these Title 4D contractors. All right, so that's very important. Under which each 4D contractor, agents, employees, and subcontractors must provide that before I sign the acknowledgement of paternity, I must be given notice orally or through notice. Here it is. What is due process? Adequate notice. Okay. Orally or through the use of audio, or video, audio equipment, and in writing of the following legal consequences that arise from signing the acknowledgement. Now, if you did not sign an acknowledgement, if you gave DNA, all right, if you gave DNA, you got married, all right, it applies, because no matter what, when your offspring are born, okay, when your offspring are born, what happens is they are offspring, they are human offspring. Once they get that birth certificate and that social security card, once you get that, they become children. All right, look up the word children and look up the word offspring. You'll notice they're two different things. Okay, but on the once it becomes legal in that aspect, bam, that's how they get it. Okay, and be mindful of that. All right, so either or, like I said, I don't care if you got married. I don't care if, like I said, DNA. They're supposed to give you this information before any of that. Okay, and of course, you already know what the legal consequences are. Now, let me ask you a question. What man in his right mind would voluntarily, and I say this all the time, would voluntarily go into this? Who would volunteer for this? Seriously? No man in his right mind would volunteer for this. All right, so it's a due process, and the reason they violated your due process because they know for a fact, number one, that child support is 100% voluntary. Number two, if they give you this information up front, you're not gonna volunteer into it. Just imagine, well, sir, here, read this and then sign. Whoa, what, you saying if I sign this paper, this is what's going to happen to me? Yes. Nah, I'm good. No thanks. All right. So it's right there, and they have a quota, and it's all for federal funding. All right, and what they're doing is for profit, not for children. Okay. So now you're going to tell them, guess what? Now you here admit that each contractor, all right, did not afford you your guaranteed right to due process orally or through the use of audio equipment and in writing of the legal consequences of paternity establishment. They did not. All right, and it doesn't matter if you were married or not. Okay. Let's see. Now, here's another part of the Fifth Amendment that you want to use. Admit that each 4D contractor uh, did not afford me my guaranteed right to due process. Okay. That such voluntary acknowledgments are admissible as evidence of paternity before my information of self-incriminatory nation was self incriminatory nature was disclosed. In other words, before you gave them your information, they were supposed to tell you this. All right? Because here's the thing. Check this out. What I would also do is ask them to provide, number one, all right, did you do it orally? All right, who did it? All right, was it done by video or audio equipment? I want to see that you got to show us that tape or whatever. Or in writing. We know it ain't got it in writing. Ask them to prove how they afforded you your due process rights before paternity was established. They can't. They won't be able to do it. Okay? Now, down here, we'll close it off. All right? Color of law means the appearance or semblance without the substance of a legal right. And well, that's a typo. And you are now liable to, and they are now liable to you under Section 1983. Okay, we already proved that child support was under color of law right down here. We're just putting in the nail that seals the coffin. All right. So what's going to happen is when you get these back, okay, you're going to be using these, and there's something else that I want to show you too. What's going to happen is when you sue everybody, they're going to claim immunity. All right, and let me show you this. All right, and I've showed this before. All right, this is an actual Title 4D contract. This is from Ohio. All right, and line 18, and let me show you. All right, look, line 18, look, 302, Title 4D of the Social Security Act. Okay, Parts 302, this is the contract. Part 303 are the terms and conditions. All right, you're not worried about 304. But if you go down to line 18, they're going to come back and say, "Well, I'm immune. I'm doing. I'm immune from that type of prosecution." Independent capacity for the contractor, right? It's right here on the contract. What I did was I copied and pasted it and put it here. So admit that line 18 of the 4D contract, independent capacity for the contractor. The contractor and its agents, employees, and subcontractors will act in performance of this 4D contract in an independent capacity and not as officers or employees or agents of the state, whatever state it is, or the Child Support Enforcement Agency. Okay. Now, incidentally, I pulled this out of Ohio's contract, but here's the catch: the government was created to be a benefit, security, and protection of your rights. Okay, of our rights. Okay, when they sign that contract, they're acting outside of their constitutional creation, duties, and limitations. All right, because when they do this, and here's how you can prove it. Here's 303. These are the terms. All right, under the terms, they got to specify that they'll comply with Title 4D of the Act. All right, that's 303 107C terms. Okay, Title 4D of the Act. Number one, it's not part of your oath to the Constitution. So they swore off their oath to the Constitution. They dropped that, and then they took an oath to Title 4D of the Social Security Act, which was never enacted into positive law. Gentlemen, I'm the Amen Osiris. Again, this is the get them to openly admit that they violated your rights Title 4D Kung Fu technique. It is very effective. And what you can do, again, there's so many different ways that you can use this. You can put them on paper. Of course, it's going to be done first. But when it comes time for the title, for you to take them to court, and it comes time for you to question them on the witness stand, guess what? You're not reinventing the wheel. All right, Mr. Child Support Agent, isn't it true that this is what you would do? I'd play it like this one here. My Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence the Title 4D contract between whatever county and the Title 4D franchise. Okay, and we'll give a copy to the lawyer. And what I'll do is I'll ask their lawyer one simple question. All right, and this will kill it. All right, and again, here's another way to use it. Mr. Lawyer, could you please be so kind and to read into the record line 18 of that contract? All right. And he's going to read it. He's going to read it silently first, right? And the judge is going to be reading it because you're going to give the judge a copy, all right? And he's going to look at that judge, and that judge is going to look back at him. He's going to realize that he has a problem now, okay? So when these contractors are performing Title 4D duties, our contractual duties in return for payment from the Child Support Enforcement Agency, they're not agents or employees of the state or the Child Support Enforcement. They're independent. Which means as soon as they get sued, sorry, we got nothing to do with you. All right, but it is what it is. Gentlemen, I'm the Amen Osiris. If you wish to schedule an appointment to learn this exclusive Kung Fu technique, all right, you can stop here at my website, deceptionstoppers.com. And we'll even show you how to draft your 1983 lawsuit. We'll show you how to write a response opposing the Title 4D remedies, and we'll give you a basics of child support teardown webinar for those of you who do not yet know what it is. All right, this right here is it's a basic class. You know, I don't go about advanced classes and this and that, but this Title 4D draft your lawsuit, that's a pretty good class. All right, and most of it we cover this information right here. But I wanted to give you a couple of golden nuggets. All right, something that you can use immediately to keep yourself free. All right, and to get your, you know, to just pound them down and tear down their foundation. All right, stop by, schedule an appointment, learn this technique, and let's get you free. Hotep.